Psalm 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. This suggests children are a precious gift from God to be valued and cared for.
In the United States, a child a minute is taken into DHS, CPS, and so on custody. The reality is their pics are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs, we the people have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title IV says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family values. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable for the people enforcing the lie.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers, and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children. Keep your damn hands off them. We are coming to act on the behalf of the children God gave us to protect, and you kidnapped.
This is meant to be a highly important time to create morals, fundamentals, and skills necessary to be a success. Instead, the trauma CPS creates in these young minds set a path of disaster, and statistics prove it. In nearly 90% of their cases, the trauma is unnecessary. Time is the one thing that can never be given back. CPS takes away moments in life that can't be replaced. The time just keeps going. Doesn't mean a thing anymore. They left as children, and it's up to them when they come home if they know who you are. Each second away is time you will never get back and keep getting older.
Studies are leading towards incarceration.
Now comes the honorable judge in the halls of justice, where the Constitution will hold strong, and your rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness will trample CPS for all they have done to your child.
The truth and corruption that's revealed to you is enough to make you sick. This is not America we were sold.
Children are being taken from families at the rate of one a minute. It needs to be stopped.
It's time to wake up and abolish CPS.
In the heart of our great nation, where the strength of our communities is built upon the foundation of strong and loving families, an urgent crisis is unfolding. Child Protective Services, CPS, an institution designed to safeguard our most vulnerable, has in many cases betrayed its noble mission. Too often, families are torn apart not by neglect or abuse, but by systemic failures and corruption. We can no longer stand idly by as these injustices continue. We are here to give a have been isolated, to shine a light on the corruption, and to rally our fellow citizens in this critical fight for justice. Every day, countless families are caught in a web of bureaucracy and abuse of power, their lives disrupted and their bonds shattered. Children, who should be nurtured and protected, are instead placed in situations that can be just as, if not more, harmful than the circumstances from which they were taken. Parents, often bewildered and powerless, face insurmountable odds as they fight to reunite with their children. This is not the America we believe in. We cannot allow these injustices to persist. Our mission is to educate, to inform, and to inspire action. We promise to bring you daily updates on CPS, exposing the truth and fighting for reform. We must remember that the future of our nation depends on the strength and unity of our families. By standing together, we can hold CPS accountable and ensure that it fulfills its true purpose, protecting children and preserving families. This is a fight we must not and will not lose. We are committed to saving our families and securing a brighter future for all. The road ahead is challenging, but with your support, we can make a difference. Together, we will bring hope to those who have lost it and ensure that justice prevails. Let us unite with unwavering resolve and a sense of patriotic duty to safeguard the integrity of our families and the future of our nation.
Good evening, everybody. I just did your whole monologue without you hearing me. I'm sorry, but here we go again. So, good evening. I am CPS Punisher. This is CPS Victims Hunting Justice, and we are on the eve of a great day, and that is July 3rd, which is my birthday. But furthermore than that, July 4th is rolling right around the corner. Hence, paying the gratitude to our forefathers who never, ever, ever decided to start a country removed from England and make it so that we would steal the children. Actually, to be honest, I think that those were one of the practices that those gentlemen from 1776 were trying to get away from. The act of sharing one's wife with the nobles on their land, on their wedding night. So typically, a woman and man would be wedded, and it was for the noble to take the wife to bed the first night and procreate with. And this was one of the reasons that people were leaving England. And to this day, the birthright is still a fight that we're obviously fighting for and to protect. Like I said in my non-listened to monologue, no U.S. soldier, whether it was Revolutionary War, War of 1812, World War I, World War II, World War III, Korea, Vietnam, Guam, any of those battles, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Afghanistan, Iraq conflicts, Cold War. Um, I mean, obviously, there's a bigger list. Vietnam. I don't want to leave you guys out of there. There's obviously many more conflicts and combats that were done, but none of those soldiers laid on that field dying, saying, "I'm, I'm giving up my life so that this country can take some families' children." So just remember that on this Independence Day, that this country isn't really so independent as it is, or as they thought it would be nearly 250 years later, or just about that, 250 years later. Um, we're still fighting for the same rights, just in a different way, as our forefathers were when they left England. That all being said, tonight, guys, we have a pretty good show. Um, we've got Roz McAllister with us right now. I don't know where we went, but Roz, while we're
Yep.
waiting, how are you, dear? How is your day?
Better. Thank you.
Right, yeah. So whoops, let's get this off here. I'm sorry about your dog. Is your dog okay, first of all?
Um, he will be. He's not using his one hind leg.
Oh, no.
It has a puncture wound on it with three staples at the moment. If you happen to hear a loud yelp, that means he moved the wrong way. He is in the room with me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, they gave him gabapentin, which they also give to humans.
Yes, they do.
And he's kind of zoned out at the moment. I'm thinking we might have to go to rehab after this.
Well, amazingly enough, that's what they do. Give some people in rehab is gabapentin to help them they're getting off of the drugs. So maybe you're lucky and he's just but no, I'm glad I have a, you know, as you know, when we talked about, they started CPS because animals had an agency that was looking after them, and then some people had kind of figured out that we're treating these animals better when no kids had any rights or no kids had any sort of look after. So
That's how it started.
yeah, that's how they started. And not a lot of people know that's what took place. But in reality, they were saying, "Holy smokes, we're treating animals better than we treat our children."
Well, what it was is a lady in an apartment thing heard the child next door being abused.
Okay.
And had no place to call. So she tried the ASPCA, and they came to the rescue.
That's really how it went. They were looking. Someone was actively seeking some services for their child.
For a
child.
Yeah, for a child. The child was being beaten.
Hey, I have a question for you. Are there still any safe baby drop zones in this country? Do we still have those?
Yes.
Where? I mean, are they still the hospital and the? I know
the hospital, fire stations, and if you look on TikTok, there's something called baby boxes that they're installing in fire stations and at hospitals where it is totally anonymous. You put the baby in the box. It's heated and everything, padded. It's just like a box outside of the building. You open it up, you put the baby in. There is a envelope in there of services for the parents should they decide to take it, including counseling from the organization that puts the baby boxes up. The door closes and the firehouse is alerted to the fact that there's a baby there. Within 2 minutes, the baby's taken out of the box, put in an ambulance, and taken to the nearest hospital for checkup. I think Monica Kelsey is her name. Let me double check that.
Okay.
But like I said, I saw her on TikTok, so.
Yeah, that's I mean, I think because up here in Maine, we just had someone had just dropped their baby off on the side of the road, I believe is the scenario is like that, and there's plenty of families that are looking to take in a baby. So there's no reason for anybody ever to treat a baby like that.
Right,
So I wanted to bring that up, that there are in these places people, they are no questions asked. You go in, you put the baby in, like Roz
yeah,
was just saying, they have a box maybe that they just put it in there, walk away, and that's it. No nothing.
right. Now her name is Monica Kelsey.
Monica Kelsey.
Yeah, she's on TikTok.
Okay.
She was adopted herself, and that's what got her going on this. Um, Recently, New Mexico gave her a hard time, or gave the firefighters a hard time, trying to find out who the mother was, when this is supposed to be anonymous with no um,
No penalties.
repercussion.
Right. So she's on TikTok. And I agree 100%. I mean, it would behoove. I think it would be nice if the people that do this maybe attached an envelope that might say the baby's heritage, maybe, or just a couple of things to identify what that baby. I don't even know why, but I maybe like just to identify for future anything. Like that way the baby.
Family history or something like that, medical history.
Medical history and a medical history, sure, right? If they have,
Although nowadays you just run a DNA test and can get most of that.
right, and maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they don't do that. Maybe that's why it's based on that. Um,
I don't think they run it because that would then, with all of these um, 23 and Me and all of that.
yeah, but so how do you feel about that stuff too? Do you feel like they're getting? It's like they're building up so many things to get to your HIPAA rights. Do you know what I'm saying?
Not to get to your rights.
Yeah,
Um,
they're dancing
I
all
don't
around
want
it.
the government having any more information on me than I have to have. Okay?
Right.
And DNA does not make me happy. I
Right.
work in the banking industry. They've got my fingerprints. That's good enough.
Right? Yeah, I imagine that probably was like one of the first things, right, that you had to do.
That and I did have a permit to own in Michigan.
Yep.
And there they had to run my fingerprints before you could go buy your gun.
Wow, that's great. And that's what, 25 years ago, for gosh sakes, right? 30 years ago, you're talking?
I'm talking late 70s.
I'm from the late
2 weeks to run prints. It was not electronic.
70s. Yeah, I'm from the late 70s, Ross. You know that.
No, you were born in the late 70s. I was
Right.
out of high school and married, okay?
You had already lived a life by the time I popped around. All right, here's a
Yeah.
Ross. Herbert's here with us.
Remember, I am 70 years old, okay?
Look good for that. That's the new 40, Ross.
That's the Native American in me.
All right, let's see what Herbert has to say, 'cause I think you have a guest backstage.
Hi. Hi, how you doing, Darren? Sorry I popped in and out so many times. I was trying to help Cindy get on. Can you see Cindy?
Yeah, we see Cindy here.
Okay, good. Because I was trying to help navigate her through your system and how to get on. So I think she should be there. You should be able to pull her up also.
Yeah, there she is. I see her in the black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, Cindy will tell you about her husband who worked with police departments with cameras, doing all kinds of spy work and stuff. And she was introducing me to all that. It's pretty good stuff, you know?
Right. No, that's going to be good stuff. I mean, that's about as much as you want to lead her into the preface. Does she have CPS issues too?
Yes, I believe she does. Bring her on. She'll tell you about the CPS
Yeah.
issues.
Let's get Cindy out here.
Hi,
Cindy,
Darren.
how are you?
Herbert, thank you all for having me on. I've had an 18-year-long battle with CPS, and I could write a book. I just, it's very traumatic, but my heart goes out to you, Darren, and I stand with you all.
Thank
That
you.
CPS needs to be stopped. I mean, I think a lot in my years of experience with them, there's such an internal corruption between them and the courts, the sheriff, um, and they're selling children. They literally are. So people like myself that, I was married to a sociopath, and it's a pick between, do you want your kids to end up being sold off or end up with a psychopath?
Right. Jesus.
So yeah,
The
it's
decisions we
it's
have to
really
make.
bad.
Cindy, why do you say they sold children?
I'm sorry.
Why do you say they sold your children?
Well, there was a couple of uh, instances where they threatened us both that CPS would, in fact, now there were allegations. My son was 11 at the time, and my daughter was 4 when there was molestation uh, uh, that was brought forth. And my ex failed a lie detector test, and they pulled a detective off the case immediately. And so they said they would arrest him and blah blah blah. But it was the most unbelievable experience I've ever had. When it came to, they traumatized my children.
Of
Um,
course.
Unaccounted for, they threatened to take the children from both of us.
Why did they threaten to take the children, though?
We were going, well, I should say, I didn't even realize that my ex managed to pull off the biggest heist of, by doing a default judgment divorce. Like, I didn't even know I was divorced. I was at home with, raising my 2 kids as a full-time mom with some medical issues. And yeah, he managed to go through the whole court system. We went through divorce, final hearing. I wasn't even there. My kids, nothing, no hearings. And
Wow.
he was awarded everything. And so I find out 2 months after the fact, and well, he's still living at home and playing this charade with me, and I'm just like, what? So yeah, I ended up after that calling the police on the police. He had law enforcement, and um, that were coming off the record. Came to the house, had a 6-hour standoff with the head sheriff, Charlie Wells. Now his son in Manatee County is also now the new sheriff. So the corruption continues, even by family in our county, which
What state, Cindy?
in Florida,
That's
Manatee
what I
County,
thought.
Florida.
Manatee. I thought that was Florida.
Yeah, it's Bradenton, Sarasota area.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, and I've heard cases of, again, children being sold that here in Florida. Vigilante dad goes and shoots up a bunch of parents, or adoptive parents that these children were sold to, and case went quiet. But it's pretty astonishing what CPS is capable of doing. They'll lie, they'll appear in court and say, oh, you didn't bring your kids in for your children in for an interview. And so it's just what I've seen is that they work with the judges, they work with the courts, and I don't even,
So that's what you consider the stealing of the children?
well, what I consider stealing is that my children were given over like property, for one, by the courts. There was never a child custody hearing, nothing. I mean, they were just awarded like on a wish list. And then, everything that happened afterwards was just like, I had over 25 internal affairs investigations that were open, and they told me, they were like, you got us, hire a lawyer and sue us.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, you should. Because you never asked the Fox to investigate who stole the hens. Okay?
well, when I
We're
say
outside of
stole,
that.
children were still with their father. They tried to escape. They went on their own volition, and called for help, and CPS put them right back in the hands of the abuser.
Mm.
even with a failed lie detector test of him molesting my 4-year-old daughter. And in order to get me to back off, they told me that they would absolutely take the kids, and neither one of us would have them if I didn't stop.
They like to do that. We had a case like that here in Ohio, where eventually the dads won out. It was there were more than one dad, but they knew the kids were being, and the kids escaped. The teenage boys escaped,
Yeah,
and children's services had been involved.
yeah.
And
My children are adults now, and they tell horror stories. They're afraid of police. They're afraid of CPS. They will never speak out about the abuse. They won't, they've silenced them forever to be able to speak out now, even as adults. So, I can say in the aftermath of the damage of what happens in cases like this, and especially when children can't go to get help or protection. My daughter cries to this day and goes into complete, just, meltdowns describing what CPS did to her.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter now is 22.
Okay.
My son is 30.
Are they're afraid, I take it, to sue?
Oh, no, this is the pink elephant in the room. We don't talk about it. It's just, we've been.
They're in therapy though, right?
No,
Oh, wow.
That's it.
no.
How old were you when this-
Therapist, because anytime we did talk to therapists, we even went to a safe house where in our county, there's like a rape crisis center in every county, and the judge even got us out of there. They said this is the first time in the history of our county that this has ever happened. They came with the sheriff and came and got my kids.
Wow. How old were they again when you said when this started?
4 and 11.
4 and
My
11.
daughter just had her 4th birthday. They never spent a day away from me. And to make matters worse, then on another occasion when my children were visiting with me at my friend's house, they waited for us to leave and staged this whole deal. The next thing you know, we're driving down on like our major road, like a 3-lane highway in town, when all of a sudden I got helicopters above.
Whoa.
We get T-boned. I mean, and it just was insane what they did. And then afterwards I was like, for them to take my daughter because of the me reporting this, or that my ex said, oh, she didn't return it. Well, I'm like, why did you almost kill us all? My friend, her 2 young children too, and instead of just coming to the door. So they staged this whole like drama scene, like something out of a movie, and then afterwards said, oh, we mistook you for somebody else that we thought was some kind of Amber Alert. So, I mean, I got bullied and threatened and told that, if I didn't stop, that I would either end up dead, that I was lucky I was alive, or that I might be pulled over for some drug charge.
Who did your husband know?
I'm sorry?
Who did he know?
My ex?
Yeah.
Oh, he worked for everybody in the county. He provides all of their camera and surveillance, the courthouse, the sheriff, the Manatee County schools, which is the most alarming because he's a pedophile and he's watching the children, and he's got camera access codes that he never lets anybody know that he can watch the cameras anytime he wants. So he's watching the children.
This is your ex?
Yes.
When did you know that he was a pedophile? Obviously after?
All these years, but like I said, I've not been able to do anything. So I had to dance with the devil all these years, and still until, I stayed even after the divorce.
How did CPS get involved?
I'm sorry?
How did CPS get involved?
Oh, after I confronted him, this was after the allegations with my daughter, and he disappeared for 2 weeks with my son. My son was terrified. And then my daughter was with me, and the next thing you know, like I said, I'm being swarmed in the middle of the road, and they almost killed us. I was actually arrested.
Wow.
And my
Arrested for
daughter
what?
had to witness that. I mean, it just, it's
What
really
was the
hard to talk about what they did.
what was the charge that they arrested you for?
At the time, I didn't even know. I was like, what did I do? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was like he fled the scene when I confronted him about, what she had described to me. I didn't call CPS. I was afraid to be honest. And so I confronted him. Big mistake, but yeah, he almost ran me over. And
But what did they lock cuffs on you, and what was
oh
the
yeah,
reason
right
that
in the
they
middle of the
reported you?
road. I mean, like I was I was
Like you were a criminal?
I weighed
What?
90 pounds at the time.
Right.
I had been through so much, the stress of it all my children did was cry.
But who
Um,
called CPS?
I'm sorry.
Who called CPS in?
The judge. So apparently,
Okay, he's a mandated reporter.
two weeks later, I guess after my
Huh.
ex, he says,
Huh.
"Oh, she didn't return her." I mean, so on that merit, it's like, so you almost kill us? Why didn't you knock at the door? Why this stage stand? I'm not kidding you. They had helicopters up in the air. Now, according to the internal affairs investigation of what they did, they said that they mistook me for some other like sheriff's wife who like had an Amber Alert and it fit the description. I'm like, really? You followed us from the house? It was a total setup.
Yeah. Right.
You waited for us to leave the neighborhood and get out on the main road and pull this stuff. They pretty dirty. So this was after my daughter first had described to me and claimed that her brother had witnessed the this heinous um sexual abuse. To me it's still inconceivable. I mean, you think to yourself, like, who does that to a 4-year-old? But then I see what's going on, and Sound of
So,
Freedom.
so
It's like,
your
why do
ex,
people do
I'm
this to
sorry.
children? And that's what I think CPS is a big part of, trafficking children,
So
selling them.
your ex was the one that was doing this to your kids?
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
When you make that accusation, okay? I've been advocating for over 25 years. When you make that accusation, you better have proof because you're opening yourself up for more problems. You have to know that they're selling kids. Okay?
Well, I mean, I'm just that's from my years of experience all the way from California. I was communicating with people, and it was like, my understanding, I talked to our Florida state attorney, right? So when he started indicting sheriff's office, he had to go public back in, I believe it was 2007, to protect his own life. Our state attorney, our Florida state attorney. So, same exact type of behavior, the dark cars. He said, honey, when I talked to him, he said, you don't even know the scratch of it, of what's going on here. He's like, he so got it, but he's like, you're just such a small, you know what I mean? You're an innocent victim in the game. But he's like, you don't even get the real big picture. So I spent years, that's all I did. I talked to people. Justice for Children, every agency to the White House. That's all I did, every waking moment. And I have every document, I have every correspondence, I've kept everything to this day. So, I mean, I don't make false allegations. And here in Florida, we did have some cases of vigilante parents that went back into get their children that were sold by wealthy people that bought them.
When CPS got involved, did they take your kids right away? I mean, did they take your kids when they smashed into you with a police car? Or did that take a while? Like, what was the imminent danger? What was the imminent danger
I
situation?
know, right? Exactly. And I'm with my best friend and her 2 children. So we have we have uh we have 4 children in the car that are all under the age of 11.
Right.
And yeah, like we came within an inch of impact when they just did a T-bone right out in front of us. It was like so unnecessary.
Yeah.
A lot of drama. So they try to intimidate and bully parents from speaking out. Apparently, like, you know, I think fall into the 2 percentile that actually is one of the moms that will side with her children rather than the abuser. And
Right.
and you know, but even then, I still didn't call CPS. The judge just he went through his attorney and they did a pickup order, but that's how they executed. But I had already been, you know, going rounds with CPS. So they showed up in court, lied, said, oh, yeah, she didn't show up to have her daughter evaluated by one of our therapists, one of our psychologists. And I'm like, oh my God, our whole family showed up there.
Right.
And they testified in court that I never showed up.
Wow.
So I see what they're capable of doing. And then you're just like, are these people human? I mean, what are they doing and why are they doing it? To me, there's a reason behind everything. People don't just do things for no reason.
No, I mean, sometimes.
Well, what I have found is the caseworkers who are involved in this kind of thing, and there's only about 10% of caseworkers that are that bad. But they're the only stories we hear about. But it's a power trip for them. It's
Yeah,
not money, it's power.
just end up in powerful positions. So, you know, and
They're
unfortunately,
bullies.
case.
It's a thing of their bullies.
Yeah,
Of
most
course,
of
yeah, absolutely. They're bullies. Sure thing.
There was a story here in Ohio where a caseworker was so happy she got her 20 years in, and he wanted to go home and be a stay-at-home mom because she could retire now and get full pension in 20 years. And she'd have dinner on the table for her husband every night. Her kids were in college, but they were at home.
Mm-hmm.
In 6 months, her kids had moved into dorms. Her husband told her, we are not your clients. You do not bully us and push us around. Either it's family counseling or we're over. She didn't have anybody to bully.
Right.
It's a power trip. I honestly believe that they should not be hired as caseworkers unless they take a full psychological evaluation.
Yeah,
Right.
I totally agree. I don't know what it's going to take, but, you know, I keep thinking, you know, if Trump can, you know, get people so why can't we, you know, do something, make a statement? But I, you know, I've talked to other parents and they're tired, they're traumatized, they're, you know, their hearts are broken, and you know, they're crippled is the problem. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but when it comes to children, we owe that to them. I would crusade for any child, not just my own children. And what I know now, if I can go back and change anything, I would have grabbed my kids and gone underground. I would have not waited for a system that does not exist. There is no justice, and these people are not who they portray themselves to be.
Yeah, there's a
So,
lot of that.
at least in my county, I mean, in Sarasota, they say per square mile, there's more millionaires that live in that town than anywhere else in the state of Florida. So, there's a lot of money in that town.
Yeah.
And it's not people that get CPS calls.
Huh?
I mean, here in Ohio, somebody had CPS called on them. They didn't know who it was. And it was a very high-ranking government official. And the child had said at school Bob was going to get him. And so they thought that somebody in the family's name was Bob, and they were bullying this child. And Children's Services comes out, wants to know who Bob is. Here, the child didn't quite pronounce it right. He was talking about the blob under his bed.
What?
Okay, another kid. Excuse my French, I'm repeating after a 2-year-old. Daddy fucks me.
Whoa. Wow.
The kid can't talk yet. He was talking about Bronco playing horsey. That
Wow.
bucks him.
Woo.
Okay? They don't ask for follow-up questions to get them where they go. My grandson's school went through the first grade asking questions. Okay? And his little buddy, who happened to live right behind me, they had CPS show up at their house, and it's because they asked the kid if daddy beats him. And he said yes. The child was talking about a bird game.
Really?
Daddy playing checkers.
Yeah.
My grandson, is there a gun in your house? Yes. It happened to be a wall decoration that Grandpa had taken off of a German soldier in World War II and shipped it back in pieces without a firing pin. It was a wall decoration.
Oh boy.
Okay? This is why educators, medical personnel, they're not properly trained.
No. And I
So they see abuse where there isn't any, and they dismiss it where it is. We had a 3-year-old died, a pink guy had a lacerated liver and died.
See, this is where it all goes back to, again, the non-clarity of definitions and the there's no, so a mandated reporter, again, it's a discretion thing. It's only a discretion thing because, you know what? They run the risk of getting a misdemeanor or a felony if they don't report it right. If they don't report it right, they get a misdemeanor. If they report it wrong, it's a felony or something along that way. So it's all about these things. There's every bit of this system is flawed, and it's not flawed because it doesn't work. It's flawed because it doesn't work because there's too much discretion used in the entire process. That's not right. I mean, this is the issue at hand. It's nothing more than the discretion. Why are your kids there? Oh, because whatever. I dropped a cigarette on the floor and he burnt himself with a cigarette. Okay, is that a reason to take your child? Is that a reason? Is that imminent danger? Well, caseworker said, well, the cigarette could have caught on fire. It's like you, Rod. Is you have a boiler, not a boiler heater, but you have what's the heater in your house? A register there, right?
Radiator? You're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I couldn't get my grandkids because my radiator was fire hazard.
Right. So all of these things are put up to discretion of people. Now, sexually assaulting a kid, a little bit different there. But again, like Roz was just saying, the difference between saying, my daddy touched this the other day or whatever, and they were talking about, a picture of a baseball on his thigh, like he was pointing out to the tag, or someone would say that's sexually exploiting someone or whatever, things like that. So now you only take these situations and someone is a mandated reporter. So now not only do you have some discretionary issues, but you bring these discretionary issues to someone that it's up to their discretion whether or not it seeks attention from the further at B. And then it goes to a caseworker. And guess what? They're going to say imminent danger. Well, what's imminent danger? Well, I don't know if it was so much the cigarette butt on the floor, but the daddy pointing out the thing on his side, well, that's imminent danger. Now they're off to the races. And then it's one thing after another of discretion. That's the problem. The key problem is one of the biggest.
But then you have, there's no, like you said, there's no regulation for what you can have a child SOS for help and they won't do anything, and I'm talking back even going into my child, right? And so you can see so many inconsistencies of why do they ignore children that really need help, and then on the other hand, I've met so many people along the way, that are suffering with no allegations
Right.
were taken from them, and there's no reason. It's just
Right. Well, I don't know where Melissa is.
children.
I
That's
don't
the
know where
bottom
Melissa
line.
is, but that's her. That's her. Like her. She has no nothing. Same as me. Like I was alleged of a crime that had nothing to do with my child or anything at all. So there shouldn't even have been an issue there. But here they come because of an alleged incident. Melissa, same thing. Nothing going on with her world. Here they are. They're coming. Now, granted, as Herbert will tell you, there is always an action that makes people turn their head. Now, whether it's wrong by the discretion or whether it's wrong by something, there's still something takes place that makes them look your way. There is, there's that. You have to give that. But, the amount of people that are investigated in comparison to the amount of kids or the amount of cases that they find might have an issue to the amount of cases that they actually do, find something, it's ridiculous. It's like 3.5 million cases they have to go through to get to where they are, and even those ones aren't even any. So what's the?
So am I correct? Did you have to go to court? I mean, in every CPS situation, does it not involve the court system before they can actually take over? I mean, is it just?
I'm not sure.
Like,
you always have to go to court.
Okay, thank you. So there again, this is where I think we got to go higher up, because what I've seen is that the judge, and they boast about this, it's not a secret, that they communicate directly with CPS and have access. So, we look at just the CPS agents, but not necessarily the corrupt attorneys, the corrupt judges that are a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't a child be better off with their parent? I mean, unless they are being sexually abused, why?
Unless the parents are both parents are going to jail, hospital, or are dead, they should not be removed from the family.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Because if there's abuse, somebody should be arrested and taken out of the house.
Right.
One person.
Yep.
And unless they can prove the second parent actually had knowledge and did nothing,
right,
then they should not be taken. They should not be taking the kids from both parents.
Right. So, I was ostracized for that, and even with reports that I just found this past year that I didn't know, that I was never privy to see that my son was making reports to CPS, telling them that why does, that his sister kept saying, why does daddy keep making me take off my panties? This is after the failed lie detector test, and my children were punished for this by the abuser and by CPS, threatened by CPS. So I know that every case can be different, but it doesn't matter. They're ours. They're a part of our flesh and blood. You know what I mean? I gave birth to my children. I, risked my life giving birth to my children. Health-wise. And to have people, discard parents, they're a part of us. They're branches of us. What right do they have to do this?
No, they don't. I mean, well, they do, but they don't. And but my concern is for your poor kids. So this is 18. We're talking 18 years ago, right?
Yeah, but it's still going on today. And the pink elephant, because me and my son never talked about it. When my daughter had described it to me,
right,
my son was a witness. And my son, I never dared even bringing up to him. I felt like if he wants to talk about it, but then now that he has suffered with severe depression, anxiety, like wouldn't leave his house for years. Like I'm the only one that could go there. But there's still a secret. But now I realize that the reason he would do anything for his sister. He was the first. He was 8 years before. I miss the signs, with their dad going in, when he was in the shower at 11 years old and scrubbing his genitals in the shower, just crossing those boundaries. But he had, a lot of grooming there, should I say, that we just don't want to leave it. And I missed it. I was focused on my daughter. So now, I've talked with therapists, I've had psychologists that deal with children, interfamily abuse. Had 3 at a time, like different ones that I went to, and it's just for advice of what to do. But I just know that when CPS is involved in anything, it's a mess.
But here's what I will say: these in a molestation situation, this is where CPS has to be involved, or maybe not CPS, but some sort of a help to this child needs to come in and take over, because clearly there's an issue at home, and while they're figuring out whether mom and dad are sick enough to be in on it together, there needs to be a player in the game to ensure that that child's safe. Ideally, that's what you would hope, and that's how you would expect the thing to work. Now, to take that kid that's being molested and throw him into a hallway at a CPS office without any sort of comfort, without any sort of anything, is a damn travesty, and that is abuse and neglect.
Yep.
Yes.
My daughter describes that, how she was left alone. They shamed her. They physically examined her body. I mean, she has major issues today, and is, angry. Children, what I've learned after 18 years is that our children, they don't care. They just know, all they care about is that whether we were there. They don't care about the judges. They don't care about law enforcement. They really don't. The bottom line is that they expect us to protect. I even had my daughter at by the time she was 19 say that you were supposed to protect me. I did everything but serve a life sentence and bring her food on. You know what I mean? I'm thinking to myself, it's like, she doesn't understand, what I went through and how, and even still today, it's taken my health. And so my case is, I don't know.
No one can
see anybody else go through and have their children, damaged in their.
No one can ever pass judgment on how you've dealt with that situation, how I dealt with it, how Roz dealt with it, how Herbert did, especially in the molestation situation. Because you know what I used to say? I would say, if CPS ever comes to my house, if they ever think that they're going to come and take my kids, they'll be damned. They'll be lucky if they make it out of the driveway. You always say these things.
I can guarantee you'll take your kids then.
Right.
But,
I know of somebody who abducted their children from the caseworker at gunpoint.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Well, mate, strike back. You do want to do that, but it's not the right thing.
You want to, you shouldn't.
Right.
It's a good thing for your kids never to see you again.
Right.
Bars.
Hey, Darren, people are writing some things on the side there. I can't read. What are they saying?
He said, Herbert
I see.
is the most wonderful man I've ever met in my life, and I hope that he has a wonderful 4th of July.
I don't see that.
Okay. So let's see. We got from Brooke here. She said she broadcasted the show on her live stream last night. So thank you, Brooke, for that. That's wonderful. We got Vinny and Lynn are with us tonight. They were talking about, let's see, they said that they threatened their wife to, if she did not sign their safety plan, they would take their kids, but not even 3 days later, they did it anyway. So I think they said, what's that?
They do that.
Yeah. So Roz, not to cut short the Cindy conversation, just get to this. What happens if you don't sign a safety plan?
A lot of times they will go to court and try to take your kids. When that 2-hour hearing comes, that's when you have to fight them. Okay?
Right. That's your only skin in the game, really.
You get them back in 72 hours.
Right. That's your best shot, correct? Like that's where you got to get in there and it's kind of no holds barred and tell them what's going on and all of that, correct?
Right. Here's the thing. Most parents are so traumatized and they don't get to somebody who knows the system fast enough to stop at that point.
Right. I know personally a lot of attorneys, when you have these pretenders, what they do is they waive that hearing for you because they say that they will possibly be able to use whatever is said there because it's a hearsay, it's a preponderance amount of evidence in that court, which means very low, right? Like so.
The attorney who waives the 72-hour hearing needs to be fired on the spot.
You know what? If hindsight was 2020, this would have never happened either. So take word of what she just said. The tactic that I'm talking about that these attorneys try to do, definitely look into it and see what their concerns are. So what they said with us is that they were afraid that something would come out in a hearsay court setting that could be used against us down the line. I said, absolutely not. Let's go there. There's nothing to hide. Bada bing, bada boom. But they didn't. They waived it. And then here's the other thing, is that they use that against you at your trial. If it gets that far, they'll say, you didn't even care enough about your kids to attend the 72-hour hearing. That's what they do with that stuff.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah, so Roz is
You
right.
never skip a hearing. Unless it's a major snowstorm.
Even then.
You have a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when they notify you, Brooke, what you do is you write a motion to set aside. And what you use as the reason is you were not notified.
Lack of due process, right?
That goes against due process.
So, hey, Cindy, they took your kids. How long were your kids gone? Did you get them back? What went on there? Let's get aside from the dirty and the bad memory stuff.
It was a punishment. It was a punishment system, like you would describe. They throw them in a room all day, hours, nothing to drink, nothing to eat, humiliating. And that's not going to, especially with children that are already suffering by, an abusive parent. But just.
So how long were they in custody for? Did they age out?
Like I said, there was a couple of different instances that occurred, and like I said, the kids tried to flee a few times from their dad, and went to like a payphone. I mean, God, it just and I'm thinking, and I was terrified, and I'm like, if I go and get them, I'm going to be arrested again. So it's like I had to call CPS. They turned around, brought them right back to the abuser, and again, things went ghost for a long time. But it's just like I said, and I know my case is probably really unique, but not unique when how and the way that you can't even really talk about real situations of abuse, and then you hear of situations that are so nothingness and people losing their children for no reason. Why?
Right. So you said that there's a few different instances. So you mean that they came, they got your kids, you got them back, they came again, they got them back, like that type of system?
No, I mean, like each time a report was made, like whether, like I said, whether my son or the escape, trying to leave, every time CPS would get involved, and then there would be a new I mean, I've got crates full of police reports, internal affairs investigations, CPS. It's like, it's overwhelming, but it's
were your rights terminated?
I don't even know. I mean, yes, the way that they behaved, but no, my rights were not terminated. I mean, it was like my ex was clearly trying to stage, things like, oh, she didn't return her back, but hey, let's almost kill them and do a sting operation and like Navy SEAL style. It's like what? But I mean, there is in each situation, I don't trust the attorneys. To me, from the judges, the attorneys, your case is already determined.
Of
It's all
course.
ex parte, the conversations that are going on behind the scenes. It's already, yeah. And then that's why people are frustrated because they're like, wait a minute, I file this, I file that, I'm doing all the right things, but I'm not getting the results here. It's like you're hitting a brick wall because they've already made their decision. It's all going on in the background.
Right.
Okay, for those who are in the middle of cases, when you find out there's been an ex parte hearing, especially if you are representing yourself, to protect the appeal, you immediately put in an objection. Immediately.
On what part was that, Roz?
If you are representing yourself,
Okay.
and you see the prosecutor and the GAL going back, you're going with them. Period. You don't want to have anything without you there. If the other attorneys are in that room, you are too, or it's ex parte communication. They try to keep you out, first thing out of your mouth. Thank you for the appealable issue.
Right. But I mean, and I hear it. But what about the CPS, Roz, that is communicating with the judge? Is that considered ex parte?
Unless everybody is copied, yes.
I guess every county and every city rolls the way that they do. It's just
No, they don't. Not every county does. Okay.
No, I'm saying
not. They catch them here and they put a stop to it. And that's big city, Cleveland, Ohio. No, it is not permitted. And a good GAL or a good attorney is going to stop them from doing that. Children's services are not allowed to go back and talk to them by themselves. No. The only time the judge talks to anybody alone is with the children for an in-camera. Then it's the GAL and the children only.
But let me ask you a question, Roz. Am I correct to say that every state may be slightly different?
The legal term ex parte, without partners, that's a legal term. And unless everybody is copied, it is considered ex parte. When they go,
and is that ex parte in every state? Is it treated the same way?
It should be. If it's not, then you put in your objections. They so much as sneeze and you catch a cold off of it, you file it in court. You paper the heck out of them. They don't know what to do with it.
Is there statute?
I'm fighting juvenile court on a juvenile criminal matter, and they're not following due process, and we are filing complaints. Me and the other victim are filing complaints with our disciplinary counsel at the Ohio Supreme Court because the judge on the bench is not following due process in their own procedures.
Right.
People who are afraid to buy a T-shirt that says "Welcome" on the back and just lay down in the doorway of the courthouse.
Yes, that's great. Speaking of T-shirts, if you guys don't forget, that's what we do here too. We have this property of my mom and dad. That's one of my T-shirts right here. So if your kids are under investigation or you have them, make sure you get these T-shirts for your kids. Put them on there so that they know that they are your kids. Stop messing with you. We also have the. Don't forget, we have these here. We have the "You Are Being Recorded" posters. or signs. They come in all different sizes. You can put those up on the walls. That way everybody's aware that
You
you're being
put those in
recorded.
the front window.
Yes. Yep, you can put them anywhere. I even actually, we have T-shirts with them on them too. And we have the official abolisccps.com hoodies. We got all kinds of things. Check it out at the website and check those out since we were talking. And then we have the Make Parenting Great Again hat. Since we're coming up on this election, we have those things too. But I will leave this one up there also. Here's the support the stream QR code. It will help us help you keep this information coming. If you guys want to donate anything you can, even just sharing this is good enough for me. Anything that you guys can do to get this word out there, so we get more people to come in, more people learning, more people getting educated, so we can have less children being taken. If all of this stuff is just the worth of one kid not getting taken, then it's worth it. So please, check out Boss.
The reason why I was asking that question, Roz, was because what applies to Ohio, does it apply to Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Georgia?
Yes.
Yeah. All communication is supposed to be with all parties present.
Yeah. Or in the motion, all parties copied.
Yeah.
And Vinny, once they take your kids, they are the custodian of your children, and the custodian can always talk to the kids. In the thing of an investigation, you have to remember there's a reason for that privacy. It might not apply to your case, but in Cindy's case, if they would have talked to Cindy's kids without the father knowing, and things were handled properly, that's why the law was made. You have to remember, all laws, regulations, policies, procedures, all were made for the same reason.
Right.
Somebody got stupid.
But Roz, if we have laws that nobody adheres to, including our corrupt courts, attorneys that are just seeing us as a commodity, I see them as vultures. I've gone through, I don't know how many, that they just monopolize and exploit the tragedy of a divorce or any other situation that involves children, because we will do anything for our children. I mean, it's like, I felt like I've been in a hostage situation for 18 years.
Yeah.
And this is why, like you said, your case is not the standard case. But this is why we tell people to file on everything, okay? Yeah. Learn your rights and file. That way, you have a paper trail. Had you have known, Cindy, to file, when your son turned 18, he could have sued. When your daughter turned 18, she could have sued. And since it's molestation, it may go beyond the 2 years past 18.
Yeah, I think that it's
let me look at it.
Yeah, it to me, I just, as far as the courts are concerned.
And by the way, you don't sue at your local court. You sue in federal court.
In federal court?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, we just want our children to be well and happy and healthy and get these people out. But like I said, we need those. I filed. I have over 500 instruments in my case. I didn't stop. I kept the case open from 2006 all the way to 2017. I mean, I'm the most relentless person when it comes to my children. So, but it doesn't matter if they're not going to adhere to it. I've just never been able to get it out of the circuit. where they've controlled it all these. So
that's when you sue. If you can sue in federal court, um,
yeah, damages are
then
done.
you take it out. Then you take it out of that local little clique.
Yeah. Yeah. We call it kangaroo court here in Florida. So it's just bad. They just bounce, and unfortunately, a lot of cases are not heard. They get from one judge to the next. So you're not getting consistency about what's going on. And they're like, next, if you got a grocery store clerk to judge your case, you'd be much better off.
Well, I've always said they don't educate attorneys to think anywhere but inside the box. I don't recognize the box exists. I don't think outside the box. I don't recognize it exists. Okay? So, at Ohio Family Rights, we have come up with some strategies that attorneys still say don't work, but we work them.
There you go. I mean, in unity. And also, too, I don't know if in any other states, we have in Florida now court watchers. So what they do is that it's a group of families against court travesties, and they just come in Zoom to kind of hold these judges and CPS in account, just having a witness.
If you can have court watchers in CPS court in Florida, you are in the vast minority. Okay? Majority of CPS courts are closed to the public across the country, including here.
But any family law is not. But yes, you are correct on when it involves like custody or something like that. But I don't know. It's fairly new in the state. I've only just now discovered it, so I don't know.
I know Michigan is open, but the majority of states, if you are not a party of the case, you're not in that courtroom. That is why I have gotten the right to do something. Let me grab it.
I'll have to look.
Yes, so here we go right here. Check this out. So,
hang on a second.
What do we got here?
Now, kick me out of the courtroom.
All right. So,
I became a licensed minister.
That's me. I'm a minister, Roz.
Now I am the spiritual leader. First Amendment, they can't keep me out.
Oh my goodness!
So, that's right. So we can't be we can't be removed because they give their right to God. But listen to this. So
my
sexual abuse victims, they have
my level of confidentiality is a little higher than theirs.
So Florida eliminated the statute of limitations for civil and criminal sexual abuse claims. This now allows childhood abuse victims under the age of 16 at the time of the abuse to pursue a claim, but I guess state laws previously would have banned that. The statute of limitations mean that if you are sexually abused at age 16 or younger, you can file a lawsuit against the abuser no matter how much time has passed. So,
they just changed the law where now there's no statute of limitations.
Right. So, I mean, that's good. That's good for two reasons. One, doesn't allow these bastards to get away from their case by letting it run out. Two, doesn't get, these poor kids that get the wrath of the sexual abuse stuff. They don't miss their opportunity because someone didn't believe them until they're 18.
It's not easy though, to talk about for victims. There's a lot of trauma, and like you said, I haven't been able to get them into counseling. So it's going to take a while, but the hard part is that, money was never the issue,
Right.
Dad has a lot of money, and it's about, and the shame, and,
Yeah, there's a lot to go with that. I'm in a coaching and counseling course right now for the next 8 weeks. And it's about, people that have been affected by the MK Ultra, projects and SRA and mind control stuff. And it's just fascinating how, and not fascinating meaning like in a good way, but it's fascinating how these people might not be treated right, like you were just saying with the kids. Like they don't want to just go into a room, rehash the incident, get it brought back to them, relive it, and things like that. So there are counseling ways that I'm learning right now, especially that you don't necessarily have to revisit the actual trauma to relieve them of the trauma and the stresses that they have. A lot of cool new techniques and things that they're coming out with now that will help them instead of the old traditional just coming in and rehashing the moment. I can get you guys some paperwork on it if you want.
We can veterans for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That comes out of the PTSD.
Yeah. Yep. Some of it. You'd be surprised though, the difference in the training, not the training, but the techniques that you use to help people that have been played with by mind control. And I believe it to almost be very similar to abuser syndrome. Like they're very much the same type deal. You become dependent on it. Now, granted, there are other things that they were done. A lot of these are ritualistic and spiritualistic things, and there's some spiritual warfare. But there's that with the Child Protective Services and their kids too. So I mean, it's all relevant. So there's good things coming to help these kids, and I'll be one of them to be able to do that in another couple of weeks to add another dynamic to my already trying to help people out.
Yeah, we have to be afraid of these caseworkers. We do. Put them in their place. I mean, you don't have to cut. You don't have to put them in their place politely but firmly. Put on your best kindergarten teacher voice.
Right.
I mean, I was on a phone call during a family team meeting, and somebody was really being nasty to the mom. And I said, "Excuse me, I don't know whose voice that was, but that is a human being and the mother of these children that we're discussing. You will not disrespect her. Not now, not ever. So if you can't curb it, get out of this meeting." Either. I had no idea I was talking to the foster caregiver.
Right. Wow, you were really?
God bless you, Roz, for you.
I don't back down from them. I told one caseworker she needed to get a new job if she was that sensitive.
Oh.
Mom was cut because mom had coarse language. She was an inner city girl. She had a bandana on her head, tied back here. And she had tattoos. She came in a t-shirt, baggy shorts, with a chain hanging on her wallet. Just big tomboy. She talked rough. Caseworker said she needed anger management. I said, "Oh? Did she ever threaten you?" "No." "Did she have a violent police history?" "No." "She confessed about any bodies in any dumpsters?" She said, "No." And I said, "Then listen here, young lady. You need to find a new profession because you're not going to hang with this. If you take people's kids, you can't expect them to be polite."
Right. That's the thing. I never understood that.
Mode, daddy bear mode. It's like, we don't. It's an internal instinct that we can't control when it comes to our children. But then it's also our kryptonite too. It's like they got us when they bend the bar. You're gonna be like whatever. And that's when you feel like you're in that hostage situation.
Well, when I first started this, I did not. I became pretty good friends with the head of our children's services, who was trying desperately to straighten them out. And when I told him that it was held against moms who cried when they took their kids, he said, "What?" Now, between his kids and his stepkids, he had 11. Okay? good Catholic man, good Irish Catholic. And
All winters.
he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, if you got a mom who says, 'Take these kids, I need the break,' God, get them out of my effing face." They don't get written up as being over emotional. But let the mother call, "Please don't take my baby," and they get written up as being over emotional. She said, "That's ridiculous." And I said, "Yeah, it is."
It is.
You know, here's my favorite. One of my favorite sayings is this. It says it throughout the Bible. If people would just pay attention. We also have this shirts too that I've designed, just like you guys said, the Mama Bear thing. But the Bible says, pay attention. Don't learn from the book. Don't act from the book. Learn from the animals. We will learn everything that we need to know from them. And think about it. We are the only species that walks on this earth. I mean, we build empires. We build skyscrapers. We fly planes. We defy science all the time. We're doing all of this shit. But yet we're the only animal that doesn't go to the death for someone or something trying to steal our children.
I used to have a sweatshirt that said "Bitch of the Year." And people said, "Why do you wear that T-shirt?" And I said, "Do you know what is it? What is a she-wolf?"
Oh yeah, female dog, man.
She
Absolutely.
is a bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Female dog too, yeah.
Is there any greater mom? Is there any greater mom than a she-wolf?
No, and I think that it should be. I wanted to register as an animal, Darren. I heard you earlier mention that our children, that animals are being treated better than children. Now, I rescue animals, and I'm an avid animal lover. So I like to defend the helpless.
Right.
I'm wired, but if I registered as an animal, you know what I mean? Our natural instinct as parents, how can we, I mean, we allow bears, we allow all wildlife to protect and defend. You know, I watched a rabbit beat up a snake for 2 hours and chase it down after it killed its baby. And this
Right.
was a big snake, and it beat that snake, and I'm like, but why can't I do that?
Yeah, that's just it.
You know, maybe as a breed or something.
That's crazy. Hey guys, we you know what? What are we doing tomorrow night? Because I think we should have you back. I think we should have the same panel back tomorrow night because it seems like we got a lot more to discuss still yet.
Yes.
So why don't we pick this conversation up again? Are you fine with that?
Yes.
All right,
I'm honored.
cool. That's great. So why don't we end this one and let's pick this up tomorrow night, guys? Same time, same place. Let's do some last words. Herbert, last words?
My last words are do everything you can to avoid being a target of CPS. So you do not have to go through what these ladies are talking about, being in the system, fighting the judges, having the children stolen and the whole 9 yards. You have to learn about CPS. There is actually a book that I ordered from Amazon, and I believe it's called How to Avoid Being a Victim or How to Avoid Being on CPS. If you look it up on Amazon, there's an actual pamphlet on there about how to navigate away from CPS. You don't want to be in the system at all.
No.
As you can see, once you're in part of the CPS, you're never out of it.
Yep, you are correct.
Yep, they'll even track foster kids, especially the girls, to see when they have babies to show up at the hospital in one county here.
Cindy, last words?
I just, my heart goes out to all the parents. Keep you in my prayers, and yes, cooperate. If I could change anything, I would have probably, I don't know, like pretty meek and vulnerable at the time, but that's right. You need to do everything you can your temper when it comes to your kids, but stay away from it any way you can.
All right, nice stuff. Good stuff. Roz, last words for you, dear.
Fight to win,
Yeah.
but plan to lose. And always love your kids more than you hate your social worker.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Hey,
I lost sound.
You still have me, or am I gone? Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Roz, you there? We're all here. So can we hear me?
I can hear.
I seem to have lost my microphone.
Oh, you
Hello? I can't hear anybody.
But I can hear you.
I can hear you, Roz. We can hear you.
I can hear you.
Roz. Roz, you are heard.
No, everything's fine.
You heard, Roz. But guess what? This is what I'm gonna leave our show with this tonight. I did this earlier. For those of you who have seen it before, I apologize. I haven't played it in a while. This was the intro video to this movement. This will give you a little bit of an idea of what this movement's about and what you expect when you're in it. So enjoy this. Enjoy your weekend this week, because it's 4th of July week. It's my birthday in 36 minutes, so you guys have plenty of time to give me presents by the time it's tonight. But other than that, I'm a CPS. Same crew out here tonight.
It's your birthday. And
yeah, it is 36 minutes. Yeah,
36 minutes. Well, happy birthday.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
And,
Hey, Darren, I got a question for you. Are you going to be broadcasting? Are you going to be broadcasting on the 4th of July?
Why? This doesn't ever stop.
Okay. Just want to know.
All right. All right. We'll see everybody.
It's enough time for 4th of July for the 72-hour hearing, so what the heck?
That's right. Dang right. All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you for breaking the mold and coming to our site. This is where we start the process of taking back our children. They are our children, given to us by a choice made between two people in love and proof of a miracle. A child made from two people, a woman selfishly giving her body up for 9 months to grow and nurture human life, and then to bear excruciating pains to bring that baby to our world. A father, the protector, is a strong individual whose job is to at all costs protect the children from evil and harm. The rules and purpose were established in the Bible. It was a miracle, and we are just letting these demons come to our sanctuaries, criticize our lives, insult our roles as parents, and take our kids, never faltering. Yes, we kick and yell, but at the end, the kids are still gone and life of emptiness begins. That sounds so un-American, but more so ungodly. He is pissed those kids are for our entrance to heaven, and we are giving them away. Not anymore. It's time to square the devil in the face and take back what rightfully belongs to us, something that only our Maker can do, and won't if you show your faith. CPS is stealing children around the world for profits, and your government is them, the system. You can be perfect in every way. We all were in our children's eyes. It won't matter. These are economically inside kidnappings. You need to understand that. True, there are times when intervention is necessary, but that is not who they target. So stop putting yourself down or someone you know who lost a child to CPS. Stand up or stand them up and fight. Fight like a bear would if the cub is trying to be harmed. Learn from the simplicity of animals, which we are far more advanced and way more backward. The children are the future, not a number on a budget report, not an estimated worth. They are our flesh and blood and made from a miracle. Now that you know what's going on, stand with us and fight so no other children will be used as slaves to the system that we are supposed to control. Shame on us. Time to make it right in your home in God's eyes.
Be prepared to hear what CPS is, and after listening, please be ready to act, for we need everyone for this one. This is a problem that affects every person in the world, as the protection of our children and the sanctity of family is a universal human right. It is time to take a stand and demand that CPS be held accountable for their actions. The corruption has run rancid, and our children, the future of the human race, are being depleted by trafficking and family ancestry being erased. Not to mention the broken hearts and river of tears left behind in the wake of family annihilation. Why? For what? Money? Money for the soul of a child. And this is determined by a person inexperienced in more ways than one, yet our system allows them to play God. What have we become as a society, when the cries of children fill pockets with riches and breaks hearts of family and we the people do nothing? How do we turn our backs on an issue as disgusting as this? No person should sleep comfortably knowing this is happening. Children crying for their families while CPS employees celebrate their cash bonuses high-fiving in the halls of justice. Think this is a lie? Look at Social Security Act Title IV and Safe Families Act. They promote the caseworkers to quickly steal these children from loving families in record times. And what did these families do so wrong? Most of them nothing. Have you ever noticed the children that die have been called upon as many as 30 times? That's because there is no money in children who have already been spoiled by true abuse or born to true drug addicts. No one pays top dollar for that. The money is in the perfect blonde-haired, blue-eyed good family and upbringing. Yes, instant family. Just that kid for whatever price they ask. No one is out of reach from these demons, and they must be held accountable for their crimes against innocent families. How are judges so freely letting children be erased from the heritage they are entitled to? They inflict on the family the same level of punishment given to a murderer or person society has to eliminate, as they are so wretched existence is no longer favorable. Termination of parental rights is the equivalent to the death penalty in more than one way. Think about that for just a moment. Do you know someone who has lost their children, and if so, is the death penalty a worthy and just punishment? That is on the adults. Why do the children then get punished as well? This system is itself cruel and unusual punishment. This is America. We don't treat living people in such heartless ways. For all this to happen, it's corruption from the ground to the White House. That is the truth. Together, we can raise awareness about the injustices done by CPS and fight for the rights of our children.
There are so many of us affected by CPS corruption, yet we isolate ourselves in shame. Not anymore. AbolishCPS.com has been created to show with force what has happened to us is wrong, and we are not remaining silent. We are the parents of those children you have wrongfully taken. We stand to abolish CPS.
Please stop the real abuse. AbolishCPS.com.